Hi everyone, welcome to episode 109 of the ITSM crowd. We are kicking off 2023 to talk about a massive theme. We're going to talk about sustainability, green IT, all of the things that, we should be thinking about as organizations. So two brilliant guests with us today, and I'm going to start by asking them to introduce themselves. Paul, if you want to start, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Claire. It's good to be back. Thank you. Hi everybody. My name's Paul Drayton, and I'm a global solutions architect working for Atos, and I work in the cross-functional services organization as part of the global pre-sales. I work on designing and solutioning and costing service engagement models, process management tooling, governance, all the good stuff that sort of goes cross-functionally across our offerings, of which a bigger growing part of that now is, of course, sustainability and net zero. So I'll kind of pull the wider context together for all of this.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Ray, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm the head of sustainability and decarbonization for Northern Europe, and I focus largely with private sector customers. So I guess I have like two real large responsibilities. One is leveraging our decarbonisation portfolio and our solutions to support our clients to reduce carbon emissions. And then the second responsibility is obviously speaking with clients to understand what their challenges are, what their key topics are. So feed that back into the portfolio and help to develop our portfolio. So both ends really.
Fantastic. Thank you both very much. My name's Claire Agutter. I'm the host for today's session. And for those of you that are watching us live, if you've got any comments or questions that you want to put to Ray and Paul, pop them into the YouTube chat. We can pick those up and we can bring them up on screen. So anybody watching live, if there's anything that you want to ask, by all means, please do jump in. We love to hear from you. So the background to this episode is a conversation that Paul and I had last year, and we were chatting about trends in service management and the new things that we were all looking at. And one of the things that Paul popped up was a slide that had some content on, and one of the things on there was DLAs, which I'd not come across before. And I think the little cynical voice in my head went, "Oh, DLAs, it's going to be digital level agreements." And I said, "So what is a DLA, Paul?" And that turned into a whole really interesting conversation. And there's a lot of exciting stuff happening which hasn't fully come across my radar yet. I don't think it's fully come across our audience's radar yet either. So the main reason for Paul and Ray to be here today is just to share some of the things that they're doing and the positive effects that they're seeing. So Paul, I'm just going to add your screen to the stream.
Go for it. It's
so
already here.
Go.
Can
That's
you see that okay?
Now. Yep, that's looking good.
Good.
Just talk to us a little bit about the things that you're doing at Atos in terms of sustainability. What your clients are looking for, what benefits they're seeing, and some of the sort of the concepts and the roles that you're introducing.
Yeah, sure, Claire, we'll do. So let me flip onto this next slide here, just as a bit of a backdrop. So just to set the scene from a wider context, and obviously Ray's got all the good stuff, all the nitty gritty, and a lot of the detail that actually I don't have, because I can always get away with that because I'm cross-functional. So I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none. But certainly in terms of the wider kind of context and observations from a service management point of view with regards to sustainability and net zero, it's really coming from a place where, when we're putting together and responding to requirements for our clients and clients to be, if you like, is that they can actually be one of two things. They can be incredibly explicit about what they want in terms of sustainability and net zero and decarbonisation. So they can be incredibly explicit in their RFPs and their requirements to say, this is our sustainability targets and goals, and we really want our vendors and partners to be supporting that. And of course, then we put something together, and I work with the likes of Ray, and we build out a sustainability solution that accommodates that. Or second to that, it's actually also coming from a place where the service management and service delivery that we're giving now is growing out of IT and more into a human-centric delivery. And it certainly I've seen over the last 2 or 3 years, concepts like, and I'm sure, as part of this forum, Claire, you've been discussing things like, the user experience, the XLAs, the experience level agreements, the well-being and wellness of your workforce, the accessibility, the sort of all of these kind of more human-centric concepts of delivering a service management model are what I now start to feed in and build out. So when we're playing back our service delivery model and the target operating model, it's including concepts around measuring experience, measuring the well-being of your employees, and of course a big part of that is the sustainability part of our offerings, and the decarbonisation, and it plays into obviously. Certainly individuals, certainly for me, I like to know that I'm working for an organization that's globally aware of sustainability, has committed targets, has a policy on achieving them. And I think a lot of our clients, they want to see that as well, Claire. They kind of want to understand that we're not just leaving it at the door, but it's actually embedded into what we're going to be offering for them. So,
and is this a gradual trend that's been happening over years, or is it more recently that you've seen this explicitly in RFPs?
Yeah, I mean, from my experience, I would say certainly to a certain extent, there's always been something in there over the last kind of 10, 15, 20 years that I've been doing stuff in and around IT. Back in the day, it would be things like power saving modes, looking at technology and servers that have a good power rating. And so that sort of power footprint, the PUI ratings of data centers, so there's always something in there about energy consumption and some kind of understanding that, we have to be relatively, we have to bear this in mind. But certainly I would say, and I'm sure Ray has a view on this, the last kind of 5 to 6 years, it's become, well, all I can say is it's become so much of a bigger thing now that we as an organization at Atos, we now have a whole practice that does decarbonisation. We went out and bought another company called EcoAct who does, sustainability.
Carbon advisory.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, Ray, I'm sure you've got a view on that as well. But
yeah, no, definitely. I think without a doubt, in more recent years, and it's only going to increase, is it has become a hot topic at boardroom level, whereas before maybe there was some areas, but now it's definitely at the boardroom level, and you're seeing more and more organizations have net zero targets which are science-based aligned, or they have a ESG strategy, and it's more and more common that companies are becoming more mature and creating plans to be able to be mature. And I think there's probably 4 reasons why we are seeing this enter the boardroom, and why climate change is being seen as increasingly important. I think one relates to people. Recently there was a big challenge in getting employees retention. It was I think it was called the Great Resignation recently.
Yep.
And I think people want to work for organisations which are seen to be acting responsibly in this area. I think that particularly resonates with millennials as well. I think millennials, when they choose an organization, it's more likely to be a sustainable organization over one that's not. So it's really important on that aspect. It's really important for an organization's brand as well. Customers are increasingly considering where they're spending their money in terms of making sure that company acts responsibly. Also financially, often it relates to if you're like Paul mentioned, if you're creating efficiencies, if you're saving energy, that often translates to cost as well. And there's been various studies that shown that companies that have high ESG scores compared to similar companies often outperform them in the medium to long term. And then finally, if all those reasons weren't a reason enough to act, I think it's increasing regulation and reporting pressure that are forcing companies to act. So whether that's the task force for financial disclosures, the net zero, the EU taxonomy, these are all growing, and they're no longer going to be options. They're going to have to be probably committed in the nearer future.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And the last couple of years, it feels like if things haven't been on fire, they've been flooded. So the realities of climate change are starting to hit home. So I think the challenge then is always, something gets the attention of the C-level in the boardroom, and it comes down to service management and what are you going to do with this? How are we going to integrate this into our service offerings? And this was really where Paul and my conversation kind of kicked off. But you've got things on this image here which will be new probably to most of our audience, but I think are quite useful tips for where to get started and some of the concepts to think about. So maybe we can dig into the detail a little bit more and talk about some of the things you've got on here, like the DLAs.
Yeah, I think where I think it's important to start is probably at the engagement, because you can build a great portfolio, but you've got to be able to make that resonate and the organization story resonate with people like Paul, who are building solutions, so that they're aware of what we can do in this area. So I think in order to do that, you've got to, if you're going to build these solutions, so to walk the walk, so to speak, you've got to talk the talk yourself. And I think we've seen that within our own organization, where we've looked to increase our renewable energy, move to all electric vehicle fleets, and activities like that to reduce our own footprint. I think that's really important. And also, proactively sharing this with like lunch and learn sessions and portfolio sharing lessons, things like that. And then also within Atos, but I'm sure other organisations may have something similar, is there's actually a green network where people who are interested in or passionate about sustainability can all come together, can all learn. We get external speakers, we share our portfolio, things like that. So I think that's a really important item to consider first, is making sure that everyone is aware of it, because you don't want people like Paul to see a requirement and think, oh my gosh, where do I go for that, and start having to run around.
And I think that's such an important point as well in terms of organizational change management, because I was doing a webinar for another organization yesterday, and we were talking about SIAM and the fact that a lot of the organizations that struggle have not done that organizational change management, and the quality of communication internally is really poor. So I think you're absolutely right. It does come down to the education, and then it can be almost supply side driven as well as demand driven, and what your customers are asking for.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I'm happy to progress into more of the actual functionality. So I guess a key aspect and a key pillar to being able to then venture out into the wider portfolio is the concept of measurement, because ultimately you can't look to reduce, or of course you can, but if you can't measure it, then how can you reduce it? How do you know that your actions are supporting what you want to achieve? So it's important that within the services we look to baseline the existing footprint, whether that's sort of the service we're taking over, whether it's an aspect of the service, whatever you like. I think that's really important, and to be based on that baseline to create a target that you can then say, right, based on the existing landscape, based on all the items we know that can reduce emissions, we'd expect an X or Y% reduction, and then work towards that, and then re-baseline and audit and get it verified that you're on track. So that's a core concept within our portfolio, where we look to make sure that, is what we're doing, measurable, is what we're doing verifiable, and can be accounted for, within the wider scope, and not just paying lip service to it.
Yeah. And that then plays into the DLAs, Ray, because that's almost then what that's doing is, once you've got that ability to to measure what you've baselined and track it, record it, and provide that kind of output, if you like, that management information, or ultimately, again, that information is made public. Massive global organizations now, they want to show, and I think probably even have to, given the regulation that Ray was talking about, prove and show that their footprint is reducing, or they have sustainable strategies. And then so it plays into then, so on the left hand side, those decarbonization level agreements is, if you like, the kind of the sort of the business end of this, if you like. So what this is actually making binding, contractual agreements that are auditable, to say and to prove and to show that the services that we as an organization are delivering to you, dear customer, we are committing to this. They are part of our contractual relationship. They are committed, they're auditable. You can use them to prove your stance in the net zero kind of marketplace. So yeah, that's kind of tied into that like as Ray says, the measurement of it, it's actually making it a bit more real. This is genuine stuff, and it's contracted for us to do this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, I'm really very proud of our decarbonization level agreement offering, and we'll go through that just in a moment. But just before I do, I think it's important to say that not every client or not every solution we will look to implement a DLA, whether that's because the client's not at that level to be starting to measure that to the minutiae detail of reducing emissions within their scope 3 or their suppliers. Whether it's we have to balance the cost and quality, whether it's actually we can make better decarbonisation savings by having a different solution. So it's just to say, it's not like this is something that we apply blindly across everything, because it's still has to be the right fit. But so just on the decarbonisation level agreement, it's probably it does what it says on the tin. It's a binding commitment to reduce carbon through the service. We go in, baseline the existing emissions based on our experience, and we'd estimate what we can save. We commit to that saving, and then through the delivery of the service, we reduce emissions. So I'll just run through like an example just to bring it to life a little bit. So as I said, it will depend on the service. So some services lend themselves really well to a decarbonisation level agreement. So let's take cloud, for example, a managed cloud service. So we will look to make sure that service is green by design. And I think there's 3 different, let's say, decarbonisation levers, if you like, that are really easy wins and can be understood. So the first one is physical infrastructure improvements. So if you're moving to the cloud, you're going to be shutting down sites. You can then consolidate the remaining sites. The sites you're moving to will have more optimized components. They'll be better. They won't be as oversized. You won't be so oversized in your components. All of that. So that's fairly obvious. We then have operational efficiency improvements within the service. So that's basically leveraging automation or any operational activities that can, reduce the amount of human interaction onto that service. That too has a positive effect on the carbon footprint. And then finally, you'll then have like technical improvements within that cloud managed service. So whether that's optimizing your virtual machines, containerization, workload scheduling, all of these things will reduce carbon emissions. So when you look at it through those three core concepts, depending on the scope, we'll look to apply that to be able to then hit that decarbonisation level agreement, within that service. So that was just a cloud example and a few of the levers that can be applied. But I think that probably you get the picture with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you ever get any kind of pushback from clients or the people who don't want to discuss this type of agenda?
So to be honest, I think there's some at a client level, they often will have this as an agenda item. Some stakeholders within clients will have different priorities. So I think it's really important to not just show the decarbonisation benefit, but then also how, if you're optimizing, how you're creating efficiencies, how that relates to them as well. Because it's not just, like I say, it's not just reducing carbon emissions. There will be other benefits to have, which can get across the stakeholders. So I'd say that at an organisation level, customers are really receptive to these ideas. I would say that not everyone within customers is their number one priority.
Yeah,
Totally agree, Ray. I think, from my experience of just like Ray's saying, I think I've never come across a client or a customer or an organization that is not interested. It's just varying levels of priority, Claire. Yeah, spot on. It's like I said right up front, some of it's the first thing you read. It's we are an XYZ company and this is all over our agenda. Our corporate social responsibilities, we take it incredibly seriously. Every vendor and partner, you need to be showing us that you're the same as us. And that's when we play the stuff back that you can kind of see on the slide here, right down to, yes, it's in there somewhere as a line item, or it might be a section somewhere. It's just varying levels of priority. But I would say I've never been totally pushed back on this. It's always been an interest, but just different levels.
Yeah. And I think the measurability that you were talking about is possibly a key difference here, because I remember 15, 20 years ago looking at, the green IT certification that existed at the time, but a lot of it was vague because we just didn't have the ability to manage this. So just a reminder for everybody who's watching us live, if you've got any comments or thoughts, or you've got questions that you want to ask Ray and Paul, by all means, please do. Time always does fly on these things, so if you get them in before the end. And I think skills is always an important point, and it feels like the breadth of knowledge that a service management professional needs to have gets broader and broader every year. So you've popped a new role up on the screen as well, the green navigator. Talk to us a little bit about this. Is it part of your service management function? Is this a new role? And what are the skills that this person needs to have?
Yeah, Ray, I can cover that, but I'm quite happy as you're on the call, Ray. Do you want to make some comments on that? I can add some extras to it.
Go ahead, and if there's
okay, no, fine. I didn't want to steal your thunder, mate. That's fine. I mean, spot on, Claire. So with those organizations that we were just talking about, who probably didn't make it front and center, when we go into them and we show alongside, for example, now, the agile coach and the accessibility and the client experience manager, these are all kind of new, I'm going to say new roles. They weren't classic service management, service delivery manager types of roles. They're roles that we're bringing in now to help with that whole, a different style, a different look to the team that's going to be looking after you. So when we show them back an org chart and explain, this is our governance model and this is the team, and we've got it used to be the decarbonization officer, but it was terribly officials. You know, it was a bit like, goodness me, it's as someone in a cap with their uniform, with a tick box of how much carbon you were emitting. But so the Green Navigator is that single point of contact, the representative from our team, from the partner team that covers all of the topics around that you can see that Ray's describing. So it's an individual that is skilled and understanding, first of all, what our net zero portfolio is doing and what it's going to do for this particular client, but also they've got that wider breadth of knowledge and understanding the global requirements, outcomes of legislation and regulation, the COP outcomes, and just that wider understanding, and really is a part of the team that sits there alongside all of your classic, your security manager, your service delivery manager, your account exec, your whatever, the T&T guy, the transformation, the program management. It's a real person that's in the organization that is, again, like Ray says, it's not just lip service, it's representing and someone to align with, and more often than not, if we go in with that kind of model and show the engagement, a little light bulb goes off in the client to go, oh yeah, that's great, because I think somewhere we've got a sustainability person who does some of this, and we say, well, that's brilliant, because then we can bring them together, do the two in the box, and then we've got a role there that'll be the go-to person to look after you in that in that respect. So yeah.
And for the people who are watching who are thinking this stuff's really interesting, I'm one of them. I think this is absolutely fascinating, and I'm so happy to see it becoming formalized. Where can people find out more? Are there resources that you can recommend? Is this something where training courses have been developed? Where would you direct people who want to scratch a little bit deeper into this topic?
Good question. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Right, go for it.
No, I was going to say that I guess there's different levels. So I guess at the first level, there was a really excellent YouTube webinar that came out from EcoAct. So I can share the link at some stage if possible. If not, then go on YouTube and look at EcoAct.
If you pop it into the private chat, I can bring it up onto the screen.
Brilliant. I've got it handy.
Yeah, we've got a couple of links actually, Claire, that maybe what's what we're talking about. If we can pop them to you and you can drop them in, there's a couple of links to PDFs and bits and bobs and resources that Ray's talking about. So maybe, just for the benefit of everyone that's watching, we'll drop those in if that's okay. It's sort of
that's fine. And I'll have I don't think these are actually clickable, but I'll ask Ivana, who looks after our marketing, to add them into the blog about this episode as well, so people can find that on the ITSM Zone website.
Yeah, so I think that YouTube video is just a good lunch and learn session, really. It provides a good overview of what's going on in the market now. I think that's a really good, easily digestible session. I think then, if you're interested in the topic, I think being aware of the UN sustainability goals, a lot of organizations are tied to that. So I'd probably I'd probably do a bit of Google research on that. And then if you're then not satisfied with like online resources, etc., I can recommend IEMA as a certification if you want to get a foundation level knowledge. But see what you can get out of like the lower levels first. But if you can't be quenched, then check that out as well.
That is fantastic, and it's a rabbit hole I'm sure a lot of our viewers will be going down. So I'm just going to bring a quick comment up on screen. So David's with us. Hi David, thank you for watching. And he's definitely going to be disappearing down that rabbit hole as well. So yes, and
see you there. We'll see you down there, David.
Ivana, who looks after our marketing, is going to add the links to the blog that we have for the episode, so you'll be able to find those on the ITSM Zone website as well. As ever, time flies when I'm learning about new things, and hopefully our audience have found that interesting as well. Paul and Ray, huge thank you to you both for taking the time and joining us and just explaining some of these things that are happening in the world of business and the world of service management. I think it's such a positive step and a really nice way to start the year, a really sort of hopeful way to start 2023. Last couple of years haven't been so great, so we'll just forget about those and move on. Yes, so thank you both so much. To everybody who's joined us, thank you for watching as well. The February ITSM crowd, we are hoping to focus on lean and using lean to drive continual improvement. Date to be confirmed for that one, so keep an eye on our social media. But I will see you all on the next episode of the ITSM crowd. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.